Okay, so I wanted to show you some of the things that I'm running into here, and some kind of thoughts I have on the current meta. I'm going to try to record a league uh, next week, but I want to show you just a few things that I'm running into here as I'm playing and getting used to having Rite of Harmony in here. So, with some things I wanted to bring up and see what everybody thought about. So, this card is better than Beck in every way possible. There's only one downside that I can see, but the upsides are obviously way better. The not having to have blue, it being an instant versus a sorcery, which you'll see in a minute why that's really important. And as I'm sure you know why, but it comes into play in this particular game. The flashback, I don't think. I mean, I can sit 4 mana is not impossible uh, for a Cheerios deck. It's not impossible. It could definitely happen, especially when you start storming out and you might hit an unlucky chain of Elvish Spirit Guides. You might get to a point where, Rite of Harmony does end up flashing. I mean, obviously better than this. But the only downside is, if I've like double glimpsed and Becked, or just Beck and glimpse, and I get down real low in my library, and maybe I don't have enough Noxious Revivals to make that loop happen, then you can choose not to draw off a Beck. So a lot of times when I get a big pile of creatures and I've got a Beck and a Glimpse that I'm drawing off of, I'll start saying no to Beck and just getting one card at a time, and just, that way I don't deck myself trying to get there. And I can flood the board with creatures. So if something happens to Grape Shot, I've got plenty of creatures to pump with Bushwhacker and swing with. This little controversy here, I've been thinking about this a lot lately too, and honestly, I'm on the Xantid Swarm team here. I think even though Allosaurus Shepherd is just ridiculously expensive, but with Allosaurus Shepherd, yeah, he can't be countered, and green spells you play after that can't be countered. But if it comes to your turn, and you're getting ready to play, you play Glimpse, they can just remove Allosaurus Shepherd and then counter your Glimpse. If they happen to have those cards, Allosaurus Shepherd is going to be removed as soon as possible. They know that it has to happen. Xantid Swarm, for some reason, it doesn't affect them as bad. They don't feel that need to remove it from the battlefield. And you swing, you want to swing every turn. Once you've got Xantid Swarm out there, whether you're going to play Glimpse or Rite of Harmony or not, you want to swing with Xantid Swarm. So it keeps them guessing. They never know if you're actually going to combo off that turn. So, and they can't respond to the trigger and make the trigger not happen. So unless they do something on the step, before you move to combat, this thing's happening. As soon as you attack with it, this trigger's on the stack, and they can remove Xantid Swarm if they want to. It doesn't matter. You can combo off that turn. So I honestly, lately, I'm on the Xantid Swarm side, and I think even if I had the option for Allosaurus Shepherd, I probably wouldn't go for it. Okay, so that's the only things I wanted to say there. Obviously, Rite of Harmony is an upgrade, but I just want to say, for me, I think right now I'm sticking with Xantid Swarm on all this, and you'll see the game that I'm going to play here. You'll see that's what Xantid Swarm plays a role here. So, all right. I had to mulligan once here, and I know at this point, this is game 2, I know at this point they're on show and tell. They've got a deck full of counters and all kinds of craziness. So I Savannah out Xantid Swarm, and of course, as you might guess, he gets Force of Will. I'm going to let it play for just a second. So it goes to them, Misty Rainforest, and they pass turn. Okay. Play another Xantid Swarm. They decide to dig a little bit. They decide to try to find a counter, because they obviously would counter that if they could, but they don't find one in the end. And then Xantid Swarm lands. Okay. Goes through their turn, comes back to me, and this is where I'm going to say, like always, I swing, even though I'm not going to go for it. This isn't enough for me to go for it yet, especially since I've got Xantid Swarm out. I would much rather have one more Cheerio. And you'll see in a minute, if I had gone for it with this, I would have fizzled. So I swing. Oops. The trigger happens, and it keeps going. I pass turn to them. They do their thing. And it also, swinging every turn also closes them out of the second half of your turn. When you're playing control, they like to do all kinds of shenanigans on your instep, and it closes them out of doing any of that. So it's clearly is a better thing to do here. And another way that it's better than Alisar is Shepherd. The Shepherd doesn't stop them from doing all their weird shenanigans on your instep. Xantid Swarm does. All right. So I swing. It comes to my next main phase. All right. A land grant, of course, I get another Savannah, because why not? Now, at this point, this is why it's so crucial and so important to think about it this way. You could play Rite of Harmony and look for one mana source and then play Glimpse in response. Or, you can't play it in response, but then play Glimpse off of that. But play Glimpse first here because Rite of Harmony can be played between or after triggers. So I'll show you how that came into play here. All right. I get a Cheerio, play a Cheerio, get a Cheerio, play a Cheerio, get a Spirit God. This is where it's beautiful. Okay. Right here, I can exile the Spirit God, tap the Savannah, and play Rite of Harmony. And Rite of Harmony triggers when Kobolds enters the battlefield. So I get 2 draws off of this Kobold, even though I drew the mana source for Rite of Harmony in the middle of it. It worked perfect. And this kind of thing came up so many times lately where that has been the trick to do it with is after you get a Glimpse trigger, and if you get your mana to play Rite of Harmony before this creature falls, you can get that draw. And it's just beautiful when it works that way. So this falls, I get the draw. It's a Noxious Revival. And I'm just going to hit play and just let it play through now. Because you know what happens next. Cheerios does what Cheerios does after this. So it got pretty tight there, drawing. But, everything worked itself out in the end. Yeah, once the Scapegoat was down, I knew it was game on then. So ended up winning this game. Obviously, without Xantid Swarm, that wouldn't have happened. But anyway, that's just one of the ways that Rite of Harmony has come in and just stepped up the whole thing. I mean, if that was Beck, you'd get your second mana source and you just let it keep going. You can't play it until after that creature falls. So before, if we were down to 1 Cheerio and 1 draw, then, and if you've got a Glimpse and you've got a Rite of Harmony, you've got one mana available on the field. Before, it's like, well, that's a no-go because you can play the Cheerio and you're only going to get 1 draw, and there's no 1 draw that's going to help you keep storming. So even if you've got 1 Cheerio, even if it gets you another Cheerio, you're just going to get 1 draw that doesn't help you at all, no matter what it is, because the only way you can keep storming is to get more Cheerios, and which means you'll never get ahead enough to play the Grape Shot. So Rite of Harmony gives you a second layer of hope there, where you can say, okay, if I play this Cheerio and I get 1 draw, if that's a mana source, I can play Rite of Harmony before that creature hits the battlefield and then get a draw. I mean, Rite of Harmony is it's the wording on it and everything couldn't be more helpful. Now, the other thing is that Rite of Harmony is shut out by Chalice of the Void the same way Beck is. Those creatures have to hit the battlefield. And Glimpse, I made another video about that. Glimpse of Nature is not shut down by Chalice of the Void because all you have to do is be playing the creatures and you keep getting your draws. So anyway, this is about the the perfect card we could have gotten, and I just wanted to share my thoughts about this and see what you guys thought. Anyway, that was just a recent game for me. Let me know if you have any thoughts about it.